Hello again. Okay, the book Zenith 2016 by Thomas Horn. I highly recommend that anyone that hasn't read that book, you get a copy of that. It's only $10 on Kindle, and make sure you read it. It's heavy going, but it's absolute vital information to know. So I want to read just a passage of it here, right? We begin by proposing a troubling issue for the reader's consideration. If Antichrist were to be revealed in America, would the faithful recognize him? Would Americans committed to spiritual values, think about that, the Republicans, the right-wing Christian evangelical Republican right, would Americans committed to spiritual values miss the same clues disclosing Antichrist's true nature as did the Germans with Hitler? There is little doubt that if a figure paraded himself in front of the American people resembling an easily stereotyped leader of the Third Reich with a mushy moustache and armband and wearing a brown shirt, his character and agenda would be obvious to almost everyone. Mounting the podium with an emotional appeal to our national loyalty. Now think about Donald Trump in this, okay? Mounting the podium with an emotional appeal to our national loyalty. The adamant display of venom and vitriol against the enemies of the state. This is all fake, right, by Donald Trump. He's not the Antichrist, by the way. It's not what I'm alluding to. The promise of the restoration of our American empire through a continuing build-up of military might. The stark name calling, identifying an appropriate scapegoat to fault for our problems. Wow, sounds like Trump to me. All of these factors would at best portray a would-be Antichrist figure as a false messiah. Or at worst, spotlight an artless actor who undoubtedly took us for fools. That's amazing. You know, he's talking about a Hitler-type Antichrist coming wouldn't work again. You know, people were fooled by Hitler. They won't be fooled by another Hitler again. Well, someone who appears to be like Hitler from the very first day. But Hitler didn't do that either. Anyway, Hitler worked his way into becoming the malevolent dictator that he ended up being. However, we can be certain the apocalypse that is the revealing of Antichrist in America, an event we believe will transpire in the years just ahead, will be one-of-a-kind challenge requiring spiritual discernment worthy of only the most circumspect and attuned code breakers, whose speciality is exposing wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Or people that believe, Revelation 13:18, that wisdom and understanding can come from counting. You can be a code breaker and figure things out, right? That's what this channel does. It's best to show people with eyes to see and ears to hear. Remember, Hitler achieved a meteoric rise to prominence and power because he understood the soul of his people. He could relate. Again, Trump. He knew what made them tick. He realized how to couch his message in the context of the political situation and how to engage those who would be but mere spectators by relating to their financial pain and anxiety over the future. Hitler understood crowd psychology and how to manipulate it. To mesmerize his audience, he learned the power of empathetic facial expressions and energetic hand gestures. Well, Trump does more than that. He compelled unquestioning allegiance by conveying solutions plainly and confidently, no matter how oversimplified or extreme his answers might be. In fact, the more oversimplified and uncompromising his solutions were, the better to persuade the people of their usefulness, right? The goyim, the usefulness of the useful idiot, the follower of Donald Trump. All right, now this wasn't talking about Donald Trump, obviously, but there's lessons to be learned from this paragraph that I've just read about Donald Trump. What is the lesson for us? If the Antichrist were to arise in America, he has. Mr. Thomas Horn, you're a bit slow to the mark, buddy. Were to arise in America at this moment, we would be foolish to expect him to be anything but a consummate American. That's what Obama was back in 2008. He would look like us. He would talk like us. He would think, for the most part, like us. And with a straight face, he might even assert a profession of Christian faith. Yes, he did. Obama professed to be a Christian, initially. From Jeremiah Wright's church, until he disassociated with him. And why he believes the teaching of Jesus Christ is so well suited for society. Following Adolf Hitler's lead, he would appeal to the most devout class of Christian, the evangelical. Well, that's what Trump does, but he's not because he's an evangelical. He's just playing to what they want to hear. He would offer opportunities to bring biblically based believers out front to escape the shadows of social disdain and distance themselves from the hackneyed portrait affirmed by the intelligentsia and showcased by the media, supposing that those who call themselves evangelical are intellectually bankrupt. Well, yeah, there's a lot of intellectually bankrupt people out there. They're all over YouTube, and people with YouTube channels are totally intellectually bankrupt. He would convince Bible-believing conservatives that they should no longer see themselves as simple plebeians, the common folk. Donald Trump, just calling everybody the super elite at a recent crusade, yeah, you could call them crusades. Their self-image should be elevated so that they regard their value no less in status than the progressive partitions of sophisticated national institutions. Yeah, right. The local common folk, the blue-collar worker, is not the same as a CEO or a business executive that owns $1 billion company. Don't be stupid. That's what Trump would have them believe, okay, just recently at his latest crusade. Not that he would identify himself with the elite, nor propose that the common man should be ashamed of his labourer status. Rather, he would argue he remains a man of the people, yet holds himself sufficiently apart to sanctify his status as our formidable, if not fearless, leader. The positioning reflects the example of Herr Hitler in many respects. Likewise, the tone and substance coming from the mouth of the Führer, although etched in the zeitgeist of that ages, begs for comparison to what we hear today from select political leaders promoting the American version of the New World Order. Oh my gosh, I'll keep reading. This is unbelievable. That's pretty spot on. Especially those who were or would be our president. However, the sham to full evangelicals will make use of more than patronizing remarks. It will turn the words of our most popular preachers against us. The ideology that should prohibit the arising of Antichrist, the Christian religion and its welfare, will be a powerful tool co-opted to capture the believing masses and to encourage through a moral veneer, yeah, Trump has no morals, and political resolution, an agenda resonating within the heart of the folks in these United States. Indeed, the future philosophy of Antichrist, because Trump works on behalf of the Antichrist, right? What Obama couldn't do on stage as a politician, Trump does, but Trump is working for the agenda of Obama. You'll see, the New World Order is still here. There is no swamp being drained. That's total crap. The future philosophy of Antichrist will convince us we should resolve to be nothing less than what our most predominant spiritual leaders teach us to be: successful, healthy, and committed to it. Classic American ideals. Although our most notable notions of individual liberty, Allah, Henry David Thoreau, and Thomas Jefferson, have long since quietly departed for destinations unknown. In like manner, Antichrist would deftly implore citizens to follow his lead. He would criticize Christians for failure to the most positive aspects of our faith. He would call us to be the best Americans we can be. The health of our nation, he would argue, depends upon living productive lives that contribute to economic prosperity for all. Morality, like ethics, should be shaped to improve our communities in light of standards established by the majority. True religion will insist these values. It will not conflict with political objectives, being positive faith, because positive faith goes hand in hand with constructive political ideology. Moreover, the challenge to discern the agenda of the Antichrist will be difficult for many reasons, not just intellectual. Social pressure to conform will be maxed out. The path to achieve clarity will be a lonely path for our peers. Will it be only too ready to encourage complicity? And complaint and disparagement will be interpreted as unpatriotic, a threat to social order, and harmful not only to our own health, but to those we love and care about. See? Standing against the mark of the beast because you believe it's biometric payment systems, see how many friends that wins you. Doesn't win me any. Not many anyway. One's conspicuousness raising must be done in stealth to not draw attention to an expressed awareness that the enemy of Christ speaks profanely in our presence. Yes, Barack Obama and Donald Trump. It will not be easy to resist even if we come to the realization we have been asked to serve Antichrist. Our peers will plead us not to rock the boat, not to question falling in line, not to label the state as anything but what is best for one and all. To be the best Christian one can be will appear synonymous with being the perfect US citizen. You can read this further, continue reading this yourself in Zenith 2016, and I highly recommend you get this book. His newest book, Saboteurs, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Thomas Horn is completely asleep at the wheel if he thinks that there's such thing as the deep state. Donald Trump is up to his eyeballs in the deep state. He is the deep state. Donald Trump, this is just a big show, right? There is no deep state. Donald Trump and Obama are best buds. Thanks for listening.